This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are back on the field for practice earlier this afternoon. That included edge rusher Rashawn Gary. He's having a career year, already matching his sack output of 7.5 sacks as he had all of last year. And he's well on his way to topping the most he's had in a single season, which is 9.5. Coach Matt LaFleur says the addition of Micah Parsons is a big part of it. But he thinks Gary and the entire front seven are helping each other thrive.
He's done a great job of maximizing his opportunities. I think he's playing tough. He's playing hard. And I think all those guys collectively, they all play off one another. And it's hard for one guy just to do it all on their own. That's why you need, typically, if you got 4 guys rushing, you need them rushing as one. And so they can all play off one another. And I think they've been doing a good job. I think that rapport has been growing.
Only 3 players did not practice today as Green Bay began to prepare for a visit from Carolina. That included wide receiver Dontavian Wicks, linebacker Nick Niemann, and edge rusher Lucas Van Ness. Meanwhile, Jaden Reed was with the rehab group. He's been out since week 2 when he broke his collarbone and had foot surgery. Again, with the Packers and Panthers on Sunday at Lambeau Field. Kick is at noon. Turning to Wisconsin, they're on their bye week. They'll return next Saturday against Washington at home.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs can be back in action tomorrow night as Golden State comes to Fiserv Forum. Milwaukee off to a 3-1 start. And the Badgers have their second and final exhibition game tonight against UW-Platteville. They open the year on Monday against Campbell. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Because I think Jordan Love is elite. He didn't have the appeal to middle America like jeans-wearing, truck-driving Brett Favre.
Yeah.
He didn't have the coastal allure that the hipster Aaron Rodgers had. I think he's a combination of both, and I think he's unbelievable. But he went to Utah State. We didn't watch him on Saturdays. He sat for 3 years like Aaron, but he's not political. He always says the right thing. He's not middle America. He's not coast. I watch him, and I'm like, oh, this is what Aaron looked like in his prime. Like just when the ball comes out, his feet aren't on the ground. He's got an absolute whip of an arm. I said this morning, I think he's the most underrated player in the league.
I don't know, honestly. I don't know who keeps stats like that in high school, so I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't know. Probably the first time ever, yeah.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's Colin Cowherd yesterday with Nick Wright on his show. And then Jordan Love earlier today. And I believe the question was, do you know the last time that you completed 20 passes in a row? You ever done that before? Any memories of anything like that? And the contrast of those two cuts are very funny. Because Colin Cowherd, great turn of phrase as always. No appeal like Favre with the blue jeans and the truck, no coastal. Jordan Love is kind of his own thing compared to Rodgers and Favre. And then, you hear Jordan Love like, I don't know. Who keeps those stats? Funny contrast between the two sound bites in the intro. And that Cowherd soundbite cracks me up. It's amazing what one primetime win will do, right? Packers fans, you tell me. Maybe I'm misjudging or misreading the room. I don't gather that Jordan Love did anything that different on Sunday night than he's been doing for most of the year. I think he had some crazy big throws and obviously completing 20 in a row and it's on prime time, yeah. But for the most part, that looked like the Jordan Love that we'd seen most of the year. Maybe that was his best game of the year, but it's not like he's been playing dumpy and then all of a sudden finally broke out of a slump and really busted out and showed out on Sunday night. Like, for the most part, that kind of looked like a continuation of the season he's been having so far. But this is why the NFL is so funny. Right? Drake May is playing at a really high level. It's only when he beats Buffalo on Sunday Night Football that people go, you know who's playing really well? It's Drake May. Or Jordan Love on Sunday Night Football against Rodgers. People were like, and Sunday night showed us that the Packers were right in moving off of Rodgers. It's like, man, Rodgers has been gone for 2 years. Jordan Love's been to the playoffs twice. But it's funny, one primetime game can settle a lot of scores, can drive a lot of narratives. And I think Jordan Love is really, really good. I don't know that I'd say he has nobody hyping him up. I wouldn't say that he's crazy underrated, but strong commentary from Cowherd yesterday. I thought that would be a good way to open the show tonight. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Thank you for being here. Always. The show live streams. If you're listening on your radio, just remember, if you're ever not in your car, or you're like, crap, I can't listen tonight. Well, the show's always live streaming on our app, the Wisco Sports Zone app. And you can watch the video there as well, just like you can to Bill's show and Ebo's show. The camp with Jesse and Zach lives on that app as well. It's a perfect home base for all of our network programming. And then the YouTube page would always appreciate a subscription. I just posted a couple of individual interviews just in the last 24 hours from the show. If you're like, well, Grant, I can't watch the full 2-hour show, but I'll catch, my favorite guests or my favorite segments just in the last 24 hours, folks. You got an interview with Kurt Hogue. You got another with Zach Heilprin. And the interviews that you're about to hear this show, I already posted them. Jesse Temple and Ryan Glasspiegel, both going to be on tonight's show. I pre-recorded with them this afternoon. Jesse will be here to talk Badgers at 5:35. He stops by every week at that time. And then Ryan Glasspiegel, our friend from Front Office Sports, going to talk a little bit about the NBA on NBC, college football coverage, his opinions on the Badgers as he's a UW guy as well. And also just for fun, he wrote a really interesting story about Colin Cowherd this week. Getting inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame and had a really good question and answer. So I picked his brain on that as well, because when we have Ryan, we're going to talk a little bit about sports media. So that's coming up at 4:35. Your calls welcome throughout. It might be a heavier second hour with the calls, a pretty loaded first 45 minutes or so, but the number is always 608-321-1670. You can text that and you can comment on the live stream as well. Try to get to all of your comments. I have an NFL quarterback observation to begin the show tonight. I have 2 sound bites from the last 2 weeks, okay? Now, this first one, you've probably heard, or maybe you've seen it on Twitter. This is Rex Ryan talking about Jordan Love, I believe last week. I don't know if it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but this was at some point on Get Up last week. This is 30 seconds of Rex Ryan, who's not a fan of Jordan Love, which I didn't know, but I guess I don't watch Get Up every morning.
But Jordan Love, man, I got no love for Jordan Love, and I've never have. And why? Yes, he's got unbelievable ability, and we'll see some amazing plays from him. But at the end of the day, do I trust Jordan Love? No, I don't, because I think he's going to take – and he doesn't do it. Statistically, he says, oh, no, he doesn't turn the ball over. Oh, yes, he does. The biggest moments, he'll turn it over.
Funny commentary. Very entertaining, just saying, I've never liked the guy. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's probably going to factor into the next thing that you're going to say if you have any priors or any biases. The idea of, well, I can't trust a quarterback. And then saying, even though the data says he doesn't turn the ball over, I have my eyes. I can tell. And there's some truth in that, right? The data doesn't always back up what we see with our eyes. But I saved that soundbite. Now I want to play you another soundbite. This is Nick Wright on Cowherd's show yesterday. Same interview that you just heard that first soundbite from. Same segment. This is Nick Wright when asked about the Colts. And the reason they're talking about the Colts is Cowherd had them like second or third in his herd hierarchy or whatever. And basically, here's Nick Wright explaining why he doesn't think the Colts, despite their record, despite their point differential, and despite how good they've looked, Daniel Jones has been good, Jonathan Taylor's been incredible. Here's Nick Wright. Here's 50 seconds of Nick Wright on the Colts and Daniel Jones.
The data can tell you whatever it wants to tell you, but your eyes of watching the NFL for 40 years is just going to be like, am I really going to say that Daniel Jones is going to stare down Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in an AFC forget title game, divisional round game and win?
Yeah.
And the answer to that question is no, I'm not. I give them respect, but I'm not going to pander the way I feel some people feel obligated to be like, well, what more do the Colts need to do? And the answer is nothing. There is nothing the Colts can do this season to make me think they're winning the Super Bowl other than win the Super Bowl. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but that philosophy has never led me astray in my life watching the NFL.
So hopefully you heard those 2 sound bites. You're kind of getting what I'm going for here. 2 analysts talking about 2 different teams or 2 quarterbacks and basically saying, I know they're winning, and I know the stats tell us one thing, but deep down, the end of the day, I don't trust it. And I hear this a lot specifically about Jordan Love. Now, I follow a bunch of Packers people, and I see Packers commentary. So, of course, I'm going to see more Jordan Love stuff than the average Bear. But I see this a lot on the internet, and I hear this from analysts. And Jordan Love, I just can't trust him. I just don't trust him. There's no trust there. So I want to know, and this is what we can begin the show with, who can I trust? Tell me which quarterbacks I'm allowed to trust. And in both of those sound bites that I played for you, we're not talking about a Sunday noon game against the Titans who were the Colts' previous opponent, or the Panthers, which is who the Packers will play this Sunday. I don't think we're not talking about noon games on a Sunday here, Nick Wright and Rex Ryan. We're talking about playoff games, the biggest moments in January. Can these teams, or in the case of Jordan Love, can this quarterback win playoff games and win a Super Bowl? That's the context we're discussing here, right? Who can I trust? Tell me who I can trust. Because if we're talking about winning playoff games and winning Super Bowls, I'd argue the only two quarterbacks that we should fully be able to trust are Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Because in the last 4 or 5 years, those are really the only two quarterbacks who have consistently showed up in massive games, shown us that they can do it. Jalen Hurts has been a big game performer. Patrick Mahomes, really for his whole career, been a big playoff performer, right? Josh Allen has never done it, and I think Josh Allen is such a baller, and he's awesome, and he's a badass, and he can win games on his own accord, but I haven't seen it in the postseason. He's had opportunities at home to get those big wins against rivals, the Bengals or the Chiefs. Hasn't been able to do it. Lamar Jackson is a superstar and has won MVPs, and I think he's one of the best quarterbacks of the internet age or of this generation or this century or whatever. He's never done it. He consistently has played his worst game of the season in the most important game of the season, in his last game of the season, whether it's the wild card round, the divisional round, the AFC Championship. So I don't trust Lamar Jackson. I don't trust Josh Allen. Justin Herbert is very good, and maybe it's because he plays for the Chargers. Like, I wonder how Justin Herbert may be discussed differently if he played for the Cowboys or the Eagles or a team that's covered a little bit more closely. And I know the Chargers have become a bigger brand, and Harbaugh has certainly helped that, but he's not playing for the Niners or the Packers or a team that really, really is thought of traditionally as this big brand and this contender where there's more pressure and there's more media attention. Justin Herbert is very good, and he's considered a superstar, and I think he has superstar ability. He literally doesn't have a playoff win. He's never won a playoff game. I like Baker Mayfield. He's got a 2-3 playoff record. He's never been past the divisional round. Darnold, who's leading the Seahawks, they're very good this year, and he's putting up great numbers. Happy for him. Good for him. He was great in Minnesota last year. He was horrible, however, in the postseason. Goff hasn't been awful in the playoffs, except for the one Super Bowl he's been in. But I don't know that he's been unbelievable in the playoffs. He's just been kind of meh. Now, Stafford, I would accept. If you're like, well, Grant, we should trust Stafford. We've seen him do it in the biggest playoff games. We've seen him do it in the Super Bowl. Okay, fine. So I'll give you Stafford. Mahomes, Hurts, Matthew Stafford. If we're talking about which quarterbacks we should truly be able to trust, which guys can we trust to do it in the biggest games in January, in multiple playoff games, or in a Super Bowl? It's really only Mahomes, Hurts, and Stafford. So by that measure, what are we talking about? Predict the Super Bowl. It's going to be either Chiefs, Eagles, or Chiefs, Rams, right? Like, which one? You name the pick. If this is how we're going to play this game, and if these are the rules, those are the only three quarterbacks we're allowed to trust, right? I just want to make sure I understand that those are the only three guys. The reason I'm making this case, the reason I'm bitching about this, is I hear so often, well, I don't trust Jordan Love. Okay, I don't trust Jordan Love either compared to Mahomes, Hurts, Stafford, quarterbacks that I've seen do it at the highest level. And I understand Josh Allen has won MVPs. He's been doing it longer. And Lamar Jackson's a stat monster, and he's won MVPs. He's been doing it longer. Justin Herbert, wow, great talent, huge arm. What have those guys proven in the postseason that Jordan Love hasn't? You know, Daniel Jones, I'm not going to tell you he's anything special. I don't think he is. But I, once upon a time, didn't think Darnold was very special, and I didn't think Baker was very special. And then they ended up on a good team, and our mind changes a little bit. I don't think Daniel Jones is anything special, going back to Nick Wright's commentary that I played for you, that soundbite from the Herd yesterday. But I'm kind of inclined at this moment to defend him and root for him. He did win a playoff game. Remember, Kevin O'Connell, everyone's boy genius. I keep calling him the Eric Spoelstra of the NFL because when things go well, he's brilliant and he's praised and he gets all the credit. And when things go south, it's like, well, what did you want him to do? He doesn't have the talent. He doesn't have the guy. Okay. So all the credit, none of the blame. That's Kevin O'Connell. Daniel Jones beat that guy in a playoff game in US Bank and looked like Steve Young in the process. Like, he was unbelievable in that game. He lost to the Eagles the next week, but that Eagles team was a wagon, and that was the Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl, correct? I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, what elite team at any point in his career was Daniel Jones charged with leading? He was with the Giants, who are garbage. They're terrible. They were never able to protect him. He never really had any weapons. I don't know that he ever really had great coaches. So I'm saying all this to say, guys, if you tell me you don't trust Jordan Love, fine. If you tell me you don't trust Daniel Jones and the Colts, fine, despite how great they've looked this regular season. But then I want you to tell me why I should trust Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, when those guys have never shown that they can do it. Josh Allen, who I love, and I hope he does do it at some point. It'd be awesome, be great for football. Be better than the Chiefs again, and I don't have anything against the Chiefs. But Josh Allen has had multiple opportunities at home against the Bengals or the Chiefs to get it done, and he's failed to do it. Lamar Jackson has had multiple opportunities with a great seed, home field advantage, rest, the bye week, at home. Can't do it. Justin Herbert does not have a playoff win yet. One of those games was pretty bad. Didn't they blow like, what, a 26, 27-point lead? So you tell me I can't trust Jordan Love? Fine. Tell me I can't trust Daniel Jones? Fine. Oh, I don't trust Sam Darnold. He was bad in the playoffs last year. Oh, okay, fine. But by this standard, and I just want to make sure I'm playing by the correct rules here of which quarterbacks we trust and which ones we don't, that leaves us with about 3 guys. I can trust Mahomes, I can trust Stafford, and I can trust Hurts. So tell me, is it going to be Chiefs-Eagles, or is it going to be Chiefs-Rams in the Super Bowl? Because that's what we're dealing with. If we're going by rules of trust, which quarterbacks we can truly trust. I'm a little frustrated by this, not because I'm a Packers fan and I want everybody to tell me that the Packers are going to win 15 games and then they're going to win all their playoff games and they're going to go to the Super Bowl and Jordan Love's going to be the next Hall of Famer. Now, I hope that happens as a Packers fan and owner. But it's more of a big picture thing where I don't want NFL media and I don't want NFL fandom to become NBA media and NBA fandom, where we just discount 99% of players as frauds. When people talk about the NBA, it's like, well, that guy sucks. He'll never get there. Well, that guy's no good. He's a fraud. He's overrated. He's this, he's that. He's just a stat monster. He's just a regular season merchant, right? This is the way that the NBA is often talked about. And the reason why I think football media is in many ways better is because we get excited at the possibilities of what guys could do, even though they haven't done it yet, right? I always think of this little exchange between Brian Windhorst and Tim Bontemps. Remember this when we're previewing the NBA postseason last year? And Kevin Porter Jr. came up. Do you remember this little soundbite?
But I will point out Kevin Porter Jr., which was one of those deals.
Kevin Porter Jr. ain't going to be doing a damn thing in the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Well, first off,
say that right now.
Listen to Wendy.
That ain't that. We can't be coming here with like, hey, we got Kevin Porter Jr. playing minutes right now. Like, come on.
The guy's a decent little bench bucket getter.
Come on.
Well, I'm talking about the acquisition at the trade deadline. I mean, he had a triple-double.
I just love that. It's like, well, the Bucks made this nifty little move here. Let's talk about this. Well, he's not going to do a damn thing in the playoffs.
Kevin Porter Jr. ain't going to be doing a damn thing in the playoffs.
Which is like, shut up, dude. Like, probably not, but why? What do you hate the guy? Like, what's going on here? What's your slant? And I'm hearing some of that in the NFL where it's like, man, look at the Colts are fun and Steichen's a great coach and Jonathan Taylor. And like, there might be something there. Yeah, well, Daniel Jones. I mean, I don't trust him. Oh, well, okay. Well, let's just, what is it today? What's the date today? October 29th. Okay, so is it Chiefs Eagles or Chiefs Rams? Because those are, again, the only quarterbacks, the only teams we're allowed to trust, apparently. Just bums me out. I hope Daniel Jones goes on a run. How great would it be if the Colts get to host a playoff game and he takes down one of Bills, Ravens, Chiefs? How great would that be? Or if Darnold has a great run, or if Jordan Love, who, again, we can't trust, if he has a deep run, or Baker has a deep run. I don't know. I just want to know, which quarterbacks can we trust? I keep hearing who we can't trust. And if I deduce, if I continue the equation based on what I've been told, it's Stafford and it's Hurts and it's Mahomes and everybody else sucks and I can't trust anybody else. Okay. I'll give you a couple thoughts on the Bucks last night. Bucks Knicks on NBC. Very fun. Huge win for the Bucks. As big as a win can be in the first week of the regular season. I'll give you some takeaways on that. And then Ryan Glasspiegel is going to join us at 4:35 from Front Office Sports.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
What I love about Giannis right now, the numbers are just coming. It's not like he's searching for anything. You know, he's not searching to score, and not searching. He's just doing it all, and it's coming organically. And then at the end of the game, when you add everything up, you're like, wow, I didn't know he did that much. And that's the beautiful part of his game right now.
That's Doc Rivers last night. Again, I've been saying it for how long has Doc Rivers been the coach? All of last year and then a good portion of the previous season. And again, shout out to Peter Bukowski, who once tweeted, I think in December, I still wouldn't be surprised if Doc Rivers was coaching this team by Valentine's Day. And then it happened. Just one of the most incredible polls in the internet era, in the run of this show, going back over the last couple of years. I've said about Doc Rivers, I don't know that he's a great coach. Postseason evidence would show us in recent years that he's probably not. I don't know. But he's a great soundbite. Gives us a lot of good fodder for the show. That's Doc Rivers last night talking about Giannis. Giannis is the first player now after last night in NBA history to record 140 points, 50 rebounds, and 20 assists through the first 4 games. He was unbelievable last night. And very fun to watch. And I'll be honest, lay my cards on the table. These days, it takes something pretty entertaining and pretty substantial to get me to sit through an entire NBA game in October. The World Series was on last night. There's Monday Night Football. There's Thursday Night Football. I'm spending a good portion of my weekend watching sports. Like, I need some real meat on the bone. It's not that I'm not a Bucks fan. It's not that I don't like basketball. It's a real life thing. The NBA postseason doesn't start for months and months and months and months and months. I need something of substance to sit down for an entire evening. I'm committing myself to watching the Bucks. tonight, even though baseball is in its biggest stretch of the year. Football is hot and heavy now. We're into the middle of the season. Like, it takes a little bit. And last night I was sucked in. I was enthralled mostly by what Giannis was doing. I know Turner isn't scoring at a high level and he's not shooting particularly well. Hopefully that turns around. I would expect it will. He's been a good player. And I think we have quite a body of work to go off of. But he's doing the things and making the plays both on offense and defense where it's like, oh yeah, that's why we were excited about Miles Turner being added into the mix. AJ Green is just a stud. Love watching that guy. Ryan Rollins has actually been great in Kevin Porter Jr.'s absence, which for what it's worth, remember, Kevin Porter Jr. might be good now, but
Kevin Porter Jr. ain't going to be doing a damn thing in the playoffs.
Damn thing in the playoffs. Yeah, of course. Thank you, Tim Bontemps.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
A damn thing in the playoffs. Wow. Strongly
damn
worded.
Thing in the playoffs.
Damn thing in the playoffs. So it would be hard to ask for anything more of the Bucks through 1 week of the regular season. It's not a very high bar. It's not something that we're going to spend hours discussing. One weird thing that I noticed last night, and it actually annoyed the hell out of me, and I got a little frustrated in the last 10 minutes of Over the Line with Ebo this morning, and then that, of course, flowed over into Bill's show, so it became a thing. Giannis was unbelievable last night. Great game. It was on NBC. It felt big. Both teams were bought in. These are two Eastern Conference rivals. Good product. Great basketball game. And yet, I see so much of the discourse about last night's game, and maybe I should just get off the internet, but I kind of need to be on it on some level. If I had my own producer to dig up crap for me, then maybe I didn't, but like, I got to do this show, and then I'm also producing Bill. I kind of have to be on the internet. So it's a problem that I can't really fix at the moment. But so much of the commentary that I saw about last night's game was about a play where Giannis like took an extra step or two, and the slow motion clip of like him gather step, like this is a travel. Oh my God, the NBA is so stupid. And I guess I don't know what to tell some of you folks. If you don't like the NBA for one reason or another, that's so fine. It's insane how fine it is. Cool. Good for you. I try to like hockey. I follow it. It's not my thing. I have a hard time watching one hockey team and following them for an entire season. It's not my thing. I actually am able to follow most other sports, but like we all have that sport or that team where it's like, yeah, it's for other people, not necessarily for me. If you don't like the NBA, that's so I'm happy for you. I'm actually happy that you have that thing that's like, it's not for me. It's fine. I won't commit my time or my money to it. Great. But I saw so many people last night in a game where Giannis almost had a, what was his final line last night? I don't even have it. He almost had a 40-point triple-double. He had 37, 8, 7, and 2 blocks. He had 11 points in the fourth quarter. They came from behind to beat a team that I think is better than them. I think the Knicks are better than the Bucks right now. And so much that is, well, did you see this travel that Giannis had? That's why I don't watch the NBA. It's like, okay. First of all, if that's the thing that keeps you from watching the NBA, that's a little lame. If you don't think the game is competitive, or you don't want to watch 82 regular season games, or you hate load management, or you hate the players in the league's politics, fine. I don't care. That's your thing. I'm happy that you have that thing. But I saw so many people last night in a night that should have been a big celebration for basketball. You know, forget the Bucks. Just, wow, the game is on NBC. It felt big. Both teams have all of their horses. And Jalen Brunson and Giannis are trading blows down the stretch, and the crowd is charged up. And it's October, and these teams are bought in. How great is this? And everyone on the internet's like, do you see this travel? Oh, my God, what a stupid, unserious league. Sometimes we talk about the NBA, which has lots of problems. And I'll talk about all the problems the league has. But we talk about the NBA as if they operate in a different plane of existence than Major League Baseball or the NFL. In every single NFL game I've ever watched, there's a penalty or two that are called, or a penalty that goes uncalled where I'm like, oh man, they really bricked that one. Missed it. In baseball, constantly umps are missing calls. And yet we watch baseball and we watch football and we're like, friggin' umps, friggin' refs. And we mostly move on, right? Or in the case of Giannis's travel last night, which legally I don't think is a travel, it's technically a gather step, and you can say, well, that's a stupid rule. Fine. How many things take place in baseball or football where it's like, that's called correctly, but then we say, well, that's a dumb rule. Like Aaron Rodgers dirting the ball at the foot of his running back who's blocking as he goes down. That should be intentional grounding, or that should be a fumble. Sure, probably a dumb rule. But that's sometimes how it is. There's a rule that we don't love, or like that should be tweaked, or that should be changed. Totally. That exists in every sport, not just basketball. And I saw a bunch of tweets today. In fact, Gerard, Bill's friend from Delaware, is tweeting at me right now. Oh, the NBA, this is why they suck. They give stars preferential treatment. Are you out of your mind? Do you really believe that the NBA is the only league in which stars get preferential treatment? Are you nuts? So again, you don't like the NBA. You don't want to watch the NBA or commit 82 nights a year to watching the NBA. That's great. Watch hockey or just watch fewer sports in the winter. Do other things. Cool. But don't give me this cock and bull line about, well, there's that bad travel. Did you see that? Yeah, I can show you 3 calls from every World Series game that were missed, and I can show you a couple stupid plays from every NFL game. So like, don't tell me about the officiating, and well, stars get special treatment. Okay, I'm not even going there. That happens in every sport. So I would just enjoy if we're just genuine in the way that we follow and watch the NBA. That's all I can ask for. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. Just be genuine about it. There's plenty of nights where I don't. There's plenty of nights where I'm watching the Bucks. It's like, man, this is a drag. Neither of these teams seem bought in. You got multiple players sitting out. Like, nobody seems to really be going that hard. It's January. Who really cares? There's so many nights. But at least I don't get on the internet or I don't tweet my favorite sports talk radio host or call their show and make it their problem. I stopped watching because stars get preferential treatment. No, I stopped watching because the game sucked. Stars get preferential treatment in every sporting league, in every business in America. That's how life works. That's all I ask. Just be genuine. That's all I ask. I am nothing if not genuine. If I think an NBA game blows or I didn't watch it, I'll just tell you. I'll be like, yeah, they didn't really seem that into it, and I wanted to do something else. Fine. I'm not going to give you this laundry list of political reasons or officiating reasons as to why I tuned it off. I just didn't want to watch. Sometimes it's that simple. Ryan Glasspiegel, Front Office Sports, going to join us next. We'll talk a little UW Badgers, the things that are being said around the sports industry as he is an alum. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about NBC's coverage of the NBA, college football and the way that it's covered among its networks as he covers sports media, I think, at a higher level and a higher plane than anybody else. And he has a really cool story and interview with Colin Cowherd out this week. So for those of you who are nerdy about sports radio, you might find that interesting as well. He'll join us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, Jesse Temple in 1 hour. Talk Badgers football, get his thoughts on what he saw in Oregon. Probably talk a little bit more about the game than we did with Zach Heilprin last night. We focused on some bigger picture things with Zach. And you can find that interview in the podcast, or I posted it individually earlier today on the YouTube page. Would appreciate a subscription. The Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills. Now, we catch up with him, I don't know, every 2-3 months maybe. Ryan Glasspiegel, Front Office Sports. We talk about a million different things here. Enjoy. Ryan Glasspiegel is here, Front Office Sports. There's no one better working in his space. And Ryan, appreciate it as always. Last segment, we were talking a little bit about Bucks Knicks last night, and they played on NBC, and everyone made such a big deal out of the NBA going back to NBC and the song and the nostalgia. And like, that's cool. But my thought always was like, well, are more stars going to play? And is the regular season going to be any better? And through 1 week, I got to say, it actually looks and sounds great. And it's been a little bit more additive to the product than I've thought so far. So what have you seen and what are people talking about there?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that people notice is that apparently the cameras in the picture are better on NBC Sports than they are on other channels. And then you start getting into technical aspects like 720p versus 1080i or what, I don't even know exactly. But the bottom line is people say they're noticing that the picture is better. I mean, NBC Sports has great production. That's the case. Football, basketball, Olympics. I don't think we're too stunned by that. Last week in the opener and then last night in Knicks Bucks, it really is. It shouldn't be, but it's refreshing when you see NBA players treat the regular season game as a meaningful athletic competition. They want to win. They don't want to lose.
Yeah.
I know that should be the essence of sports, and it's the bare minimum. But on these NBC games, that's been true. We've started to already see some load management from other teams. Like LeBron and Luka are sitting out games that I think if these were the playoffs, they'd be playing. But I don't know. We're going to have to judge it after more than a week, but yes, so far so good.
The music, it looks and sounds great. It feels official. Tirico doing a Bucks game is cool. So through 1 week, and that's a very small sample, it's been a surprise. Do you think people really didn't like ESPN at the end, or do you think it's these are the same voices and faces?
We still have ESPN. It's
true.
TNT that we don't have anymore. I mean, I do think that ESPN is getting held up as this like contra to NBC and to Amazon where people are like, they're talking about basketball. They're not concocting theoretical trades, years into the future or picking like beef with stars in this like kind of like soap opera mode. I'm not naming names, but I think we all know who at ESPN does that. And so, yeah, it's like the basketball fan feels like he's getting treated to a more pure experience with Amazon and NBC. But I will say, inside the NBA on ESPN, I know that they're like haters too, but when they're on there, it feels like much more of a big deal for ESPN's NBA coverage. So I think like you look at how everything shook out, and it's certainly been positive start.
They didn't make it look like ESPN. Like it would have been easy to watch inside the NBA. It would have been easy to watch those guys the other night and forget that they're on ESPN now. It looks and sounds like by and large mostly the same, or at least in my experience.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. It's like it's the same producers, it's the same studio, it's the same people. What a trade by ESPN, by the way. Like they just traded like a bunch of Big 12 games that were going to be buried on ESPN Plus to have inside the NBA. And, just kudos to them for having the imagination to pull that off. Like, cause we've been reading about it for a year or whatever since it all got decided. But if you like would have gone back a few years ago and posited that would be like some type of trade that could get pulled off, everyone would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? But it's worked out great.
It'd be like Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark and 2 firsts. It's like, well, yeah, if that's possible, they should absolutely do that. Yes, 100%, 10 out of 10 times. I want to talk a little bit about college football. You mentioned the Big 12. What have been your takeaways this season? Tell me if it's unfair, but I see it as a little bit of an arms race. Fox and Big Ten beefing up their coverage, adding some Barstool people. ESPN, SEC, McAfee's a big part of it. What have you seen from those two sides in the conferences they carry?
This has been going on for like 5+ years or whatever. Whenever the SEC poached Oklahoma and Texas from the Big 12, making it go from a package that ESPN split with Fox to an exclusive ESPN package with the SEC. That was when this Cold War really started. And it might even go back to Fox launching Big Noon, which, so it's like, Fox launched Big Noon. They put their best game in this time slot. You and I love it. Joe Tailgater, not so much. And so then they do a competing pregame. ESPN poaches Oklahoma and Texas. Fox basically responds by killing the Pac-12, which they had shared with ESPN, by poaching USC, Oregon, Washington, and UCLA. And then ESPN adds McAfee and Saban. Fox adds Barstool. And good. I like that they're trying to compete just like these NBA players. A certain program that's based in your town where you're broadcasting from, where I went to, maybe could learn some things from ESPN and Fox about trying to compete and having some pride about what they put out there.
So I want to ask you about that next. Ryan Glasspiegel is here, but one more thing before we move on. What has been your impressions of Barstool's foray into television?
I like it. Like
it's fun.
I've been like watching and following and covering Barstool for over a decade now at this point. I mean, and it's nice like to have the voice of the fan out there on these like professional platforms. Now, I don't think the Big Ten has rolled out the red carpet for this partnership. You have Dave Portnoy alluding to the idea that the Big Ten commissioner hates his guts, and he's not allowed on the desk inside the stadium, and Columbus barred the Barstool pregame show from campus, Ohio State. And so we're seeing a little bit of pushback from the powers that be, but I think like if you watch Big Noon, you see a lot more energy in the crowd on these shows this year. So I like it.
It feels more like game day. Yeah, which that's kind of been a staple of that program for a while. So again, if you're comparing Fox and ESPN, you're a UW alum, as you mentioned. I'm here in Madison. You work in a space with lots of UW alums. So what kind of things are you discussing amongst your peers? What are you hearing?
I mean, there's just like this resignation. So Jim Tolzien, and I think he's a guest of yours pretty regularly. He had basically the Maine, Wisconsin booster, who's this 80-ish-year-old guy, Kellner, who's just like, yeah, he basically gave Luke Fickell and Chris McIntosh a vote of confidence. And usually you say that's like a dreaded vote of confidence, but this guy didn't seem to be like wavering. It seems like he's the decision maker, and this is what he's decided, that we're going to have to endure another year of this. And like, it's really icky because on one hand, like, yeah, they're losing, but they're losing, and like Fickell has this look on his face of like a guy you don't want to get a beer with. We're hearing all the rumblings that he doesn't have he's kind of like given the cold shoulder basically to both alumni players and the in-state coaches and NFL scouts. And you just can't point to like any sign that like, oh, this little thing is getting better. I guess like a couple of like his recruit defenders are now starting to make some plays, but I honestly think that the Badgers are the worst team in the Power Four conferences. And it's like, I know, like, oh, well, you're so spoiled. Look at what they were like in the 80s. But like since 1993, and that's like a period of over 30 years now, you could go into a game against an Ohio State and Oregon and say, okay, we might not be favored, but there's a chance they punch them in the mouth and win. They've beaten like number 1 Ohio State multiple times. You see it on the video board. And so it's very discouraging that it doesn't seem like who made this Kellner guy king? One guy writes a $20 million check and 1 million alumni have to just listen to what he says. Like, what is this? What is this system that we're held handicapped by this guy?
This is fascinating. Well, and I like your point about beating Ohio State, too. You used to be able to go to Camp Randall thinking we might not be favored, but I could witness a game that I talk about with my fellow students and UW family for the next 30 years, right? This could be a night that we look back on. But maybe not, but it's possible.
2000 to 2020, we beat Michigan a lot more than they beat us.
Yeah.
Like, this idea that we're just have to be worse than Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State and Oregon, to say nothing of like Iowa and Illinois and Indiana. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is not what the case was. And believe me, this deterioration did not begin with Luke Fickell. It's been this way. It's been heading in this direction for 10 years. The people who say like, oh, I told you they shouldn't have fired Paul Chryst, they're bananas. It was heading into this type of like dilapidation. And I honestly, Fickell was about as good of a hire as they could have made. This is a guy who brought Cincinnati to the college football playoff. He's the only guy who ever bought non-Power 5 team to the CFP before they expanded it. So it was a great hire, but it didn't work. And you can't just this idea that they can just hope it'll magically start to work. It's not going to. They're the worst team in the country in their position. I don't think that there's anybody they would be favored against on a neutral field who is a Power 4 conference team right now.
It feels that way. And they can't score, which makes it worse. If they were at least a little fun, like Purdue can score. And I think Purdue sucks and is mostly down at the same level as Wisconsin. You have, to conclude, you have a one-on-one with Cowherd up at Front Office Sports this week. In a time, Ryan, where lots of tumult and upheaval in sports media, Cowherd has seemingly found a way to make all this work. So tell us about that conversation. It was a cool story.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame on Thursday. The first thing I asked him was, what did you think about this? And he goes, it's a joke. Like, what took so long? But like, I did that interview with him at like this place called Pequod's in Chicago. The guy like next to us at the table, he gives me a look like, is that Colin? And I like nod, yes, it is. Like, but he didn't say it out loud. It's like, I've been like fortunate enough to be in public with like a lot of these guys and see how, you know, random people interact with them in the wild. And he's one of like really actually the nicest people. Like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take a picture. And he's appreciative of the fans. I think like part of that is because his fame and success and fortune didn't come until like comparatively later. Like he spent a long time as like the guy in Tampa or the guy in Portland. And yeah, you have like a bit of like of local celebrity when you're the sports anchor, at least especially, you know, 25 years ago when media was different and the internet really hadn't taken place yet. But it's just like, it's great to see him in his kind of Uncle Colin phase where wouldn't say he's like taking a victory lap now, but it really feels like he's at a place where he's like totally like a made man, and he's really enjoying that stage of his life.
Well, to take something that I heard him say about LeBron, he's entered his mogul phase down in Chicago. Like that's literally, he's said that about athletes before. Ryan, before I let you go, I almost forgot to mention this. You had the tweet that 18-inning game the other night. The most relatable thing I saw on the internet is what happens when your phone dies and you can't get an Uber home? Like that's my nightmare. Anytime I go to a concert or a sporting event, until I leave, like my phone charger is hanging out of my pocket because I know that thing's got to be topped off.
I bring my phone charger with me. Like it's so inconvenient to keep it in your pocket. You got to take it out for security. Pray you don't lose it. But I don't go anywhere that I'm going to be for even like a couple hours or more without bringing a phone charger with me because like, yeah, an 18-hour game, your phone runs out of battery. It's like, what happens if you're like visiting LA? You don't live there. You didn't go park there. You don't know your way around. How are you going to get back to your hotel? I don't even know. Like, I mean, also like if your battery gets to like 10% in the 11th inning, and then there's like 7 more innings and you are there with like a slightly battery phone, but you can't look at it. It's such like total torture.
That's my nightmare. And I saw that tweet. I said, oh my God, I have anxiety and I wasn't even there. Ryan, I appreciate it. Your coverage is the best. You were the best in your space. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Grant. Talk soon.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
From the beginning, I've liked how this group competes. You know, we scrimmage Saturday. I've seen just the competitive nature of this group, and it's been different guys, different days. But we got to continue to get better on both ends of the floor, and we'll use this week.
That's Greg Gard. They had a scrimmage. Was that last Friday? When was that? Last Thursday, last Friday? Sometime last week. Sorry, I don't remember. Oklahoma, they played at Fiserv Forum. Scrimmage, exhibition game. Their defense did not look great. People were reacting very strongly, which you're going to react strongly, whether it's an exhibition, in conference, out of conference. We're going to react strongly. That's what we do. I don't know if anyone ever told you this. Fan is short for fanatic, right? So, of course, we're going to react strongly. It bears reminding and repeating that their defense was pretty poor to start the year last year, too. And then they improved as the year went along. And I don't remember where they ended up, but by the time they were towards the end of conference play, the Big Ten Conference Tournament, and then, March Madness, it's like, okay, the defense is fine. It's good enough to go with an offense that was an absolute blowtorch last year. And I would expect it maybe not to be as good this year. It's hard for me to think that their best player will be as good as John Tonje. But then again, I think John Blackwell is pretty friggin' good. So I don't know how good he'll be or what type of player he'll be as the lead actor on this team, but I think they'll be okay. Tonight, happy WEAC Wednesday, by the way. We got Dale Jorgensen down at the Kohl's Center to cover the Guard Bowl. Jeff Gard and his Platteville Pioneers will be at the Kohl's Center to scrimmage for guarding against cancer. And I would just like to point out, now I am jaded and biased, yes, because I'm a UW lacrosse guy. But I've watched a lot of WEAC basketball in my day. There is no, I want to frame this. I want to be honest in how I feel, but I also don't want to be unfair. I don't want it to get personal. There is not a coaching staff, specifically a group of assistants, that know how to make the game about them quite like Jeff Gard's staff at Platteville. I mean, there's going to be 10 assistant coaches on the bench, and all of them should pursue a career in acting, because the 10th guy on the bench, and I'm not talking about players, I'm talking about grad assistants, film guys, trainer, whatever. I mean, they pack a bench, okay? Every call, the 10th guy on the bench, the lowest ranking assistant's probably a friggin' volunteer. Hey, can you wear a suit and sit at the end of the bench? Okay. Jumping up, and I can't believe, the theatrics from that group, can't stand Platteville. Jeff Gard, good program, good coach. I mean, they didn't win when it mattered last year in postseason play. But what are you going to do? Who did they lose to again last year? I can't even remember. I remember watching the game. I remember very clearly watching the game. I can't remember who beat them, though. They beat them at Platteville. They lost at home. It wasn't neutral site. It wasn't a road game. They lost at Platteville, but I can't remember to whom. But yeah, Jeff Gard and his massive staff of assistants are ready and standing by to make tonight all about them, because there is not a coaching staff in professional or amateur sports, amateur in air quotes, that knows how to make a game about them like the coaching staff at UW Platteville. So for those headed to the Kohl's Center tonight, leave early because, well, we've talked about John Nolan Drive if you're coming from the south side or the west side. But enjoy the game and do your best to not be distracted by the behavior coming from the visiting bench. Get to your phone calls wide open. So line them up, 608-321-1670. We'll talk Packers next after Zach's update.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Jordan Love is your NFC Offensive Player of the Week. That was announced this morning after Love threw for 360 yards and 3 touchdowns and win over the Steelers on Sunday. It was a big win for the Packers and Love for a number of reasons, not the least of which was who was standing on the opposite sideline and playing quarterback for the Steelers. Coach Matt LaFleur on the performance from Love.
I think it's pretty meaningful. I think that speaks also to the respect that we have for a guy like Aaron Rodgers and guys that were here and were able to witness and see what how he would perform, not only on the Sundays, but also in practice and all that. But yeah, Jordan's shown a ton of growth. We have a ton of confidence in him, and I played for the game.
It's the third NFC Offensive Player of the Week honor for Love in his career. He and the Packers now getting ready for a visit from the Panthers coming up on Sunday. Carolina 4-4, coming off a 40-9 loss to Buffalo. Kick on Sunday is at noon. Turning to Wisconsin, they are on their bye week. They'll return next week with a visit from Washington. First time the Huskies will play in Madison since 1968. Wisconsin going to enter that game on a 10-game Big Ten losing streak.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. World Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums pay right here. To keep Wisconsin strong, local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
The Bucks improved to 3-1 last night with the win over the Knicks. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 37 to lead the way from Milwaukee. They will be back in action tomorrow night with the Warriors coming to Fiserv Forum. And Wisconsin going to close out its exhibition slate tonight against UW Platteville. Badgers open the season next Monday against Campbell. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Because I think Jordan Love is elite. He didn't have the appeal to middle America like jeans wearing, truck driving Brett Favre.
Yeah.
He didn't have the coastal allure that the hipster Aaron Rodgers had. I think he's a combination of both, and I think he's unbelievable. But he went to Utah State. We didn't watch him on Saturdays. He sat for 3 years like Aaron, but he's not political. He always says the right thing. He's not middle America. He's not coast. I watch him and I'm like, oh, this is what Aaron looked like in his prime. Like just when the ball comes out, his feet aren't on the ground. He's got an absolute whip of an arm. I said this morning, I think he's the most underrated player in the league.
I don't know, honestly. I don't know who keeps stats like that in high school, so I don't know. I'm not sure.
Kids who know how many points they have scored.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably the first time ever. Yeah.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2, and we have yet to take a single phone call tonight. So please, if you have anything to say about the Packers, we're going to talk Badgers with Jesse Temple in about a half hour, as we do every Wednesday at 5:35. Line them up. Wide open phone lines. I won't make you wait. 608-321-1670. I will give you some housekeeping items in the interim. The things that I found to be most noteworthy or most important from Matt LaFleur's press conference earlier today. Shout out to Vagabond John and others who I thought of when I heard this. You may have seen tweets about this, but this is the question and answer from Pete Doherty, I believe.
What are the
yes.
What are the prospects for Lloyd returning anytime soon?
No, I wouldn't count on that anytime soon.
So when he injured his hamstring, I guess I just got to know, like, did it become detached from his body?
No, I wouldn't count on that anytime soon.
Did a fence post stick? Was he flung from an ATV and then impaled on a fence post through his hamstring? There are stretches where I forget Marshawn Lloyd is even a real person. And I know that we've all wanted to see him play, and he's a third-round pick, and it's like he was supposed to be the change of pace back from Josh Jacobs. He has missed so much time in so many practices. I don't even like Zane Anderson is more of a real person in my perspective than Marshawn Lloyd.
No, I wouldn't count on that anytime soon.
That's all he said. That doesn't exactly sound promising. So that was one housekeeping item. I'll play you one cut, and then we'll get to the phone calls here again. 608-321-1670. A little exchange between our pal Ryan Wood, who will be here on Friday, and Matt LaFleur about target share. And I don't know if this is motivated by Matthew Golden. We're just always interested with, which players are getting the targets and the touches, and the Packers have a large group of guys on offense, so somebody's going to be out in the rain every week. Most recently, it's been Matthew Golden. Jordan Love talked about it with Kay Adams. Here is a question and answer with Ryan Wood before we get into phone calls.
Now, we ask you about targets every week. You've had offenses where 10 guys catch the football.
You guys never talk about targets.
Only every other week. Yeah. 10 guys catch
Only every other hour.
Cow. You've had offenses where guys catch 10 guys catch passes in a game. You've had offenses where you've had like a go-to guy. What decides what kind of offense that's going to be? Is it depth? What's the deciding?
What would you guys like it to be? That's what I want to know. I want to know what would be ideal in your guys' world to allow us to, not have to answer these questions every week.
I'm not the expert. I just
okay. Yeah, I think it's when you have a lot of confidence in everybody, what you do is you try to, first of all, you're always, at least the way we do it, is we're always trying to attack the scheme first and foremost. And then from there, when we decide what plays, draw up well or have answers for whatever it is that we feel like we potentially could face, then you start plugging in the players. And I think it's important when you have a lot of guys that you have a lot of confidence in, that you want all those guys to have opportunities or feel like they have some opportunities within the game plan that they get excited about. Now, it's impossible to get all those plays called. So that's where you kind of go a little bit off feel. All right, what are they playing versus us? And what's the best way to go attack that?
Interesting. So we have a little bit more from Matt LaFleur, and I can sprinkle it in throughout the rest of the show. You can tell that he's testy about talking about targets because anytime a coach turns a question around, that's when they're a little pissy.
What would you guys like it to be? That's what I want to know. I want to know what
you guys tell me.
What would be ideal in your guys' world?
I get it because they just keep winning. And Tucker Kraft goes off, and Christian Watson has a great night, and Romeo Doubs has a couple good catches. Excuse me, Matt. What about Matthew Golden, though? What about him?
What would you guys like it to be?
What would you guys like it to be? You tell me. It would be annoying. I get it. I really do from Matt LaFleur's perspective. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. This is Mad Max from the tunnels underneath Racine once again.
Oh, 2 days in a row, Max. What's going on?
Yeah, 2 days in a row. I'm currently, actually not in the tunnels right now. I'm just currently sitting on traffic on I-94, which going east, which is just, it's reaffirming why I am the number one advocate in the state of Wisconsin for tunnel infrastructure and why I want to expand the tunnels beyond Racine so the whole state can enjoy it.
Are you pro interstate expansion, or then would you be anti? What about 794? Where do you stand on that?
I think we need to expand 794 and put parking lots under it.
Okay, well, I love that.
Yeah, I gotta stick with the company line on that. But anyways, Grant, I kind of just wanted to comment on your opening monologue about Jordan Love,
yes,
and ring culture, and I think that's why as I've gotten older, I've become more of a baseball fan. And I guess I wouldn't say I've soured in the other two sports, but I've just become more fed up with the discourse because with NBA and NFL, I feel like it's all about ring discourse. It's who. It's just like if you don't have a ring, you're a fraud. If you haven't done this, you're a fraud. But like look at Mike Trout in baseball. If Mike Trout played football or basketball and he only had like one playoff appearance in 15 years, he would be seen as the biggest fraud of all time. But baseball fans and media correctly point out that the Angels are just a garbage organization that can't put a winning team around him.
That is correct.
And just that discourse in baseball, I just feel like is more intelligent. Even like with Aaron Judge, he's had plenty of lowlights in October himself, but I feel like he gets nothing but praise from the media still. So I don't know what it is about baseball that just hasn't gotten that toxic level of discourse that the other sports have.
Well, so this is a great call, Max. I appreciate it. Anytime you can join us from the tunnels of Racine, please do. I don't think it's an intellect thing. I think people who cover football and watch football, for the most part, are as smart as people who cover and watch baseball. And there are exceptions. There's idiots who watch baseball, myself, and there's geniuses that watch football and vice versa. And basketball, I think plenty of basketball fans are smart. I don't think it's an issue of intellect. It's almost an issue of spirit. Like, what's your motivation for watching and what's your motivation for discussing? Like, when we sit around, when us guys sit around and we like throwing out names of players and we're just, BSing. We're talking about, rotation of an NBA team or the bullpen of a baseball game or like the wide receiving core. We're comparing quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, what's the spirit behind that? It's not an intellectual thing, because I think there's smart and dumb sports fans who follow and watch and cover each of the individual sports, American sports. Basketball, it seems like we are looking to needle and poke holes and say, hey, that player that player, he's pretty good, right? Like, you'd think so, you moron. Like, yeah, he's got good stats, but actually, let me tell you why he actually sucks. And he's actually a fraud. Like, that seems to be the spirit of a lot of NBA coverage. And I'll play this cut again. I played it in the opening segment in the first hour, and we can kind of reprise some of our takes from that first segment. Like, this is Brian Windhorst and Tim Bontemps, and I think Tim McMahon, talking about Kevin Porter Jr. last year. And I always go back to the soundbite because it's such an example of the way people talk about and cover and discuss the NBA.
But I will point out Kevin Porter Jr., which was one of those deals.
Kevin Porter Jr. ain't got to be doing a damn thing in the playoffs.
Well, first off,
say that right now. You just that ain't that we can't be coming here with like, hey, we got Kevin Porter Jr. playing minutes right now. Like, come on.
The guy's a decent little bench bucket getter.
Come on.
Well, I'm talking about the acquisition at the trade deadline. I mean, he had a triple-double.
So, like, even Wendy's like, oh, okay. Kevin Porter Jr., F that guy.
Kevin Porter Jr. ain't got to be doing a damn thing in the playoffs.
He's not going to be doing a damn thing.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
Damn thing in the playoffs. It's like, why is it so weird? And look, some NBA players have genuinely, accurately been big-time performers in the regular season and players that just haven't got it done in the postseason. James Harden, Chris Paul, Joel Embiid. These are brilliant individual players with great basketball bodies of work. And it just hasn't worked out for them in the postseason. And for all of those guys, you can look at postseason shortcomings and say, well, they got a little unlucky here. They got injured here. Their team let them down here. They ran into a buzzsaw, a better team here. But for all three of those guys, again, Chris Paul, James Harden, and Joel Embiid, you can also find examples of them in the postseason where it's like, yeah, man, you just like kind of weren't good enough. You can find instances where Chris Paul, it's like you were up 2-0 in the finals and you just didn't get it done. James Harden, you had a chance to close out an opponent in the playoffs and you just didn't get it done. And guess what? Sometimes that happens. It happens. But in the NBA, people go out of their way to slander and to rip those guys and to like almost hold their successes against them, because the more they succeed in the regular season and the more they accomplish, like the less we think of them because we know they're not going to perform in the playoffs.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
Or do a damn thing in the playoffs. Yes, exactly. In the NFL, some of that exists. And I think Rodgers is probably a good example here in our own backyard. Like Rodgers won MVPs and was brilliant. And thank goodness he won that Super Bowl early on. Because at that moment, you're a made man. And it's the same with Giannis. You know, once you win one of those things, especially if you're the driving force, the way that Rodgers was in a couple of those playoff games in the Super Bowl, he was brilliant, or the way that Giannis slammed the door himself and came back from an injury in Game 6. Like, you're a made man. So we might want more, but if you win that one, you're always going to have that one. But in the NFL, it's not as mean-spirited. Like, people don't slander Lamar Jackson the way they do James Harden. And you might tell me, well, Grant, that's a ridiculous corollary. What are you talking about? Well, I don't know. Both are regular season MVPs. Both put up numbers that are kind of unprecedented with great volume and like just kind of revolutionary players. James Harden is a perimeter shooter and a ball, like that whole heliocentric thing. Volume shooter, volume player, fast offense with Mark D'Antoni. And Lamar Jackson, I don't want to say he reinvented the position, but kind of like kind of a revelation, right? Like James Harden and Lamar Jackson are more similar than you would think. I know Lamar's got multiple MVPs, and I think Harden's only got the one, right? If I'm remembering correctly. Like, those players are actually pretty similar. But yet, if you bring up James Harden, people go, choker, loser.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
I mean, correct. Never's done a damn thing in the playoffs. You bring up Lamar, I was like, man, what an icon. You know, one of the greatest quarterbacks of this generation. Nobody does it like him. The first thought isn't, that guy is such a fraud.
Kevin Porter Jr. ain't got to be doing a damn thing in the playoffs.
Correct. it's just more mean-spirited in the way that we talk about basketball. And in baseball, back to our original caller's point, I believe that was Mad Max in Racine in the tunnels, as he said. I think there is an admission or a recognition among people who cover baseball and watch baseball of how hard it is. Like, it's so hard. Someone in one of my group chats was talking about this the other night. I don't remember who, and I don't even remember what group chat it was, but like, there's a reason they pop champagne after every round. And then there's a reason that there are introductions at the beginning of every round. Your first, the Dodgers did introductions in Game 3 of the World Series the other night because that was their first World Series game at home. Like, it's a big deal. The way that baseball is covered and the way that it's celebrated by the players and the coaches involved, there's a recognition and an admission of how hard it is. Whereas in the NBA, it's like, well, yeah, that guy won one ring, but I mean, come on. Well, yeah, that guy, I mean, he's taken multiple teams to conference finals. He got to the finals and lost, but like, what does any of that matter if you don't actually win the thing? Whereas in baseball, you make an NLCS or even a World Series and lose, you get a parade thrown for you. You know, Brewers.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
Correct. Like there is, I think there's just a difference in attitude and coverage and approach. And to bring this all the way back to where we started at 4:00 with quarterbacks that we can and can't trust. I played you this cut from Rex Ryan. I'm sure you've heard this on Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, man, I got no love for Jordan Love, and you know I've never have. And why? Yes, he's got unbelievable ability, and we'll see some amazing plays from him. But at the end of the day, do I trust Jordan Love? No, I don't, because I think he's going to take and he doesn't do it. Statistically, he says, oh, no, he doesn't turn the ball over. Oh, yes, he does. The biggest moments, he'll turn it over.
He'll turn it over. Actually, pretty good delivery. That was an entertaining soundbite. I like that one. But in football, for the most part, and maybe this is starting to change a little bit. Maybe it's reflective of our society. We're all getting meaner in spirit. Everyone's a little bit more divided. But in my experience in football, people look at Sam Darnold and say, can you believe he's reinvented himself? Let's see if he can do the thing. Baker Mayfield, can you believe he's found a new home in Tampa? Could he finally go on a run? It's not, well, that guy will never do that. It's not, well, that guy sucks. He'll never do that. Never do a damn thing in the playoffs.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
Correct. We'll never do that. That's the way basketball is. That's the way basketball is talked about. With football, like, I want people to be open-minded about the idea that the Colts could host a playoff game and actually take down Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. Like, I want people excited to follow that and see if that's a thing that could happen. Whereas if it was an NBA team, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, they're going to win 55 games, but who cares because they're not going to do a damn thing in the playoffs.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
Correct. It's just a difference in approach. And back to that Rex Ryan cut when we're talking about quarterbacks. Well, I can't trust him. Well, who can we trust then? Who can we actually trust? Who are the current quarterbacks on contending teams who have shown that they can play at the highest level in a Super Bowl? Mahomes, Hurts, Stafford. There you go. So, what's your Super Bowl? Is it Chiefs Eagles or Chiefs Rams? Tell me now. And I'll just tune out for the rest of the season because I can't trust anyone else to do a damn thing in the playoffs.
Damn thing in the playoffs.
On the live stream says, why does Tim Bontemps sound like a Tim Robinson skit? I don't know. It's genuinely one of the weirder clips I've ever seen or cut for the show.
Kevin Porter Jr. ain't got to be doing a damn thing in the playoffs.
It's very weird. It's very bizarre. I don't know. I like to be open-minded about the possibilities rather than closed-minded about players who haven't done it before. You can't do the thing until you do the thing. And it is interesting, Max, I'm glad that caller brought up the differences in sports because I think it's a real thing and it's something that I've talked about before. Jesse Temple going to be here at 5:35. A little bit more from Matt LaFleur when we come back, some housekeeping things, some updates on injuries and things that were discussed at his presser earlier today, and then we'll talk Badgers at 5:35 with Jesse, one of my favorite segments of the week.
And he doesn't do it. Statistically, he says, oh, no, he doesn't turn the ball over. Oh, yes, he does. The biggest moments, he'll turn it over.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I'm not worried about it. We've got enough to worry about just within ourselves and a lot of growth in front of us. If we want to play our best football, we should only be worried about today and this game and nothing else outside of that.
That's Matt LaFleur earlier today. This presser is chock full of a bunch of stuff that I want to hit on. He's asked about Carolina and the possibility of a trap game. I know what I want to lead the show with tomorrow. I got my take on the Carolina game. I can't wait for tomorrow night at 4 o'clock. I already got it ready, and I'm going to save it. I could do it now. I'm going to save it. I'm going to savor it because there's a couple of other things in this press conference. Press conferences are awesome for sports radio when they do one of two things. An answer in a press conference can either add to a conversation that we're already having, can enrich the conversation we're already having, or can start a new conversation, give us something to pick at, give us something to talk about. Otherwise, I'm not interested. Like if they ask, Matt LaFleur, how do you think Zach Tom is playing? I think he's playing well. That does nothing for me. Now, if we've been talking about Zach Tom and we're like, I think Matt LaFleur thinks way too highly of Zach Tom. I think Zach Tom blows, and Matt LaFleur thinks he's great, and I'm wrong. And then Matt LaFleur says, well, I think Zach Tom's pretty good. I'd be like, he's wrong. And then we'd talk about it more. There's like 3 or 4 things here that I want to discuss. First, he's asked about Devontae Wyatt's performance in Pittsburgh, and I have something to say about this.
When you went back and watched the film, how did Devontae look in his first game back from the knee?
I thought he played pretty well.
Well, good answer. I'm glad there's more.
Just curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I thought he played well. He
a little
was
more, Matt.
moving around well. He played physical. So we're lucky to have him back.
So Ryan Wood tweeted today, and he'll join us on Friday, and I can't wait to bring this up with him. It's something I'm going to have to write down. He posted a little clip with Devontae Wyatt. I won't play you the audio, but this is his tweet. I'll read you the caption of the video. Told Devontae Wyatt that I thought he played at a Pro Bowl level before his knee injury. He didn't want to make any big statements before the season ends, but no disagreements. Quote, I definitely feel like I was in the zone. I was moving fast, confident. Now the goal is to get back to that level. Welcome back, Kenny Clark, to the Green Bay Packers. This was Kenny Clark for 3 or 4 years, and we've talked about this. This is not something that I've thought about all year because Kenny Clark hasn't been here. Welcome back, Kenny Clark. It's Devontae Wyatt. This is what Kenny Clark would do. He would have a run of 2 or 3 or 4 games where he'd get a little better, get better, and all of a sudden he'd be white hot. Like he'd improve a little bit every week. He's not a streaky player, but a player that would have peaks and valleys. You'd see him over the course of a couple weeks, like Kenny Clark is really coming on. And then he would get hurt and he'd miss a game or two. And then he would start back at the bottom again. And then you'd see him building up. Oh, Kenny Clark's really coming on. And then he'd get hurt or miss a game. And then he'd start over. So Devontae Wyatt, welcome back Kenny Clark to Green Bay. That's the first thing I thought of. I cannot wait to bring that up with Ryan Wood on Friday. And watch, he'll tell me that that's a stupid take, and that's fine. We'll have it until Friday, just between you and me. This Josh Jacobs explanation for Matt LaFleur today, really additive to what we've been talking about. Because I don't think Josh Jacobs looks good at all. I think he should get a week off. And Matt LaFleur says, oh, no, I think Josh Jacobs looks great.
How did Josh come out of the game with the calf?
In my conversations with him, pretty good.
A little more, please, Matt. Jesus, it's like pulling teeth.
Ability to kind of have the usual burst that he has.
I think I saw the burst. We got to just do a better job around him, making sure that he's got premium looks. Some were some play calls. Others were just, we didn't block the right people. And it's going to be hard to run the ball whether you're mistargeted or you don't get a block on the perimeter. There's a situation where we didn't insert on a safety and it's right at the point of attack. So I don't care what back's back there. It's hard if you're not all targeted right.
I don't believe him. Or I find it very difficult to believe him because I can't believe that every carry that Josh Jacobs got, the O-line messed up, and every carry that Emmanuel Wilson got, the O-line hit the nail on the head. That seems so unlikely. I don't buy into that. Here's a little bit of a follow-up on that, and then I'm going to take a call.
No, it's always a concern if you have mental mistakes.
By the way, the title of this cut, courtesy Mike Clemens, is it concerning they're still blocking the wrong guys in run game? Which I'll answer yes, but Matt LaFleur can add more to it.
No, it's always a concern if you have mental mistakes. It's not like there are a ton of them, but when they show up, yeah. And typically, I would say in a normal NFL game that some of that happens, especially if you're motioning a lot, just how defenses react to that. But you got to make sure you pass that communication along. Certainly there's challenges when you're on the road to doing that versus when you're at home. So hopefully we can get all that stuff cleaned up and we can get this run game going a little bit.
I have a hard time believing it. I just think Emmanuel Wilson looks better. But what do I know? 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? All right. Quick phone call. Very brief. Let's go to line 2. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant.
Matt in Cross Plains. What's going on?
How you doing?
Excellent.
Hey, I haven't talked to you in a while, so I just figured I'd call in and agree with you.
These are my favorite calls, Matt. Thank you for chiming. I'm so happy to hear from you today.
Josh Jacobs, my 14-year-old son was watching, and he said, Dad, his leg is still hurting him. You can tell, even on his little burst, for a touchdown.
Smart kid.
It wasn't a burst. He's a fast guy, and he got to the edge, but all his other runs looked terrible, and he looked slower than normal. And yes, Emmanuel Wilson looked way better. So I don't know what LaFleur is trying to pull here, but anyway, that's my only take. I wanted to agree with you and say hello.
It's a great take. Thank you for saying hello and telling me that I'm right. Matt in Cross Plains, everyone. That's an excellent call. I don't doubt that they probably missed some assignments on some of those runs, but you're telling me every single one? It wasn't just a couple. It was futile watching Josh Jacobs run. And then Emmanuel Wilson gets in there. There's spark. There's what's the word I'm looking for? There's pep. There's zing. There's spunk. That's the word I was looking for. All right, let's try this call one more time, and then we got to get to Jesse Temple. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Hector.
How's it going, Hector?
Oh, not bad. I was going to switch you off of my Bluetooth because I think I heard the sign that it was my turn, and then I hit the wrong button and hung up. So I apologize for my
That's okay.
technological ineptitude.
That's
so
okay. What you got?
You also have Jair out there too. Hobbs sitting, getting paid millions to do nothing. I mean, so the Ravens have Jair benched as well, but how are so many starters just so fundamentally bad at football nowadays?
Which I need a little bit more specifics. Who specifically?
I feel like, okay, specifically, you look at the guys that, like, if you pull up a list of the available free agents, look at the names that are on there. And the product that we get on the field with, like, the team, some teams, they're bad and they know they're bad and, they're just playing for the future or whatnot. But there's I feel like there's players out there that could be available, but you got other guys that are, on a team because their name carries them, or like Jair, like why the Ravens are paying him a little less than he was making last season to sit on the bench, but still, like, these guys are professionals, and then 1 year they just don't got it anymore. Like, it just does. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Then you got other veterans that I feel like if you put like Steve Smith Sr. in some pads, he's probably going to tear it up. Like, he never left.
So this is a fascinating call, and I don't really get what you're driving at, Hector. I enjoyed the call. I'm sorry I got to run. I would love to discuss this with you more. The team that comes to mind by what you're describing is the Commanders, where it's like all of these great players, and then all of a sudden they don't got it anymore. Bobby Wagner. I think Laramie Tunsil still has it, but he's been banged up this year. Marshawn Lattimore. Like, that's the team that I think of, where a lot of names, and then all of a sudden it's like, did you guys all get old at the same time? It happens fast in football sometimes. I listened to Middlecoff's pod earlier today. He talked about that with the Commanders. Like, it happens quickly, man. And it happened quickly for Jair. It happened for Rasul Douglas, who was really good not that long ago, and now nobody wants him. It's just how the NFL works. We're going to get to Jesse Temple coming up next to talk some Badgers, and then we'll wrap up the show, turn things over to the Bill Michaels Huddle, and Mike Clemens at 6 o'clock. I can't wait.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Crikey! Would you look at these blokes? The Wisconsin Badgers. What a magnificent pack of tough, hard-hitting animals. You drop them onto the gridiron, and it's like watching a mob of badgers defending their burrow.
Jesse. Jesse. Hey, Jesse. 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 Jesse.
Jesse Temple, he pulled out the crocodile hunter look. The Crocodile Dundee on the camp. That's the voice that you heard. I cannot recommend today's episode enough. Zach and Jesse are both in costume. And if you're watching the simulcast, I threw the picture up on the screen. Just in incredible visual, but also Jesse, who's very straightforward. I don't want to say professional because all of our guests we have they're professional, but I do some BSing with Zach. We BS with Jesse a little bit less. And to see him in that outfit and that voice,
Crikey!
Please go watch the camp. If you've never watched an episode before, this is the one. Here's my conversation with Jesse from earlier today, talking Badgers football, and we do a little basketball at the end too. Enjoy. Jesse Temple is here, Badger Connect, and of course he's on the camp with Zach. And I must say, I saw you and Zach both were in costume for the most recent episode. Did you were a family man? Did you just happen to have that because you're trick or treating? Like you just don't strike me as a guy to go out and get a costume and do the act just for the podcast. Like that's something that you had already, right? Otherwise, I've learned something new about you.
That is 100% correct. Shout out to my wife. We've got a 5-year-old son, and she looks up the costumes well in advance and had several options. So there's other costumes in the basement too. But I sent the picture to Zach, and I said, "What do you think about us wearing costumes on the show?" And he didn't have anything, but credit to him for going out and finding something, crocodile hunter and the crocodile. So sometimes you got to have a little fun because it's not necessarily been the most fun football season, but it's good to start new traditions on the camp.
Yes, exactly. And I certainly enjoyed it. Now I would enjoy, you guys could wear, the same plain white t-shirt. It would be an outstanding podcast, but I did enjoy it. You guys always begin the camp after a game. What went right? What went wrong? And there hasn't really been anything that has gone right recently. Now, I don't think this game was some success, but can we talk for a couple of minutes just in the most micro sense? Mason Posa was really good. Cooper Catalano was really good. And I saw probably the most optimistic Badgers fans on Saturday pointing out, well, those are some of Luke Fickell's guys. So are we starting to see the vision? Is that something positive? Or what did you see watching a couple of those guys really turn in some of the better performances I've seen from any Badgers players this season?
Some people might be wondering what took so long, but at the very least, these guys are on the field now making an impact, and I don't really know how you give them fewer opportunities. Now, Mason Posa got the start because Christian Allegro broke his arm. He played through it a week earlier, and when Christian's healthy, he deserves to play. But at the very least, you've got 3 guys that you can count on the rest of this season. And Posa and Catalano really do represent the future. They've put together a couple good recruiting classes. You also saw Gideon Atuka, a redshirt freshman, have a really important role at running back with all the other injuries. He was the only healthy scholarship running back left and ran hard, went for 80-plus yards. Even Eugene Hilton Jr. with that catch on the massively underthrown pass from Hunter Simmons that helped set up the touchdown drive. So there is some young talent. And if you're looking for reasons to be encouraged, you can find them. But when I look at that result in general, 21-7 loss was really best case scenario because the offense is so atrocious that you needed the defense to play at a really high level. And all credit in the world to the defense and Mike Tressel. They did. The offense just doesn't have enough juice right now or enough players, and injuries haven't helped.
So I want to talk about what comes next and what a closer game, a best case scenario means maybe for the next couple of weeks. But to stick with those players, I saw, again, the most optimistic Badgers fans saying, I see the vision, or I'm starting to see it. I guess my complaint is this feels like it's 2 years later than I needed to see a vision. You know what I mean? I have a difficult time seeing a vision when you're in the midst of 11 straight losses to Power 4 opponents. You had just gotten shut out for almost 3 straight games. Those players looked good, but give me your thoughts on what that means, or I guess what I'm saying, what it doesn't mean, because I don't know that it means a whole lot to me.
I'm with you, Grant, because the vision, we're talking about 4 or 5 dudes. Last I checked, you needed 22 on offense or defense, and there are a lot of other spots that are not accounted for in that fashion. That's not to say there aren't young players who are doing well in practice, who can help this program in the future. It's nice to see some playmaking ability, because that has been few and far between, especially this season and even last season as well. But you need a whole heck of a lot more of that. So again, this is still a team that's lost 6 straight games, is 2-6, is on its way to missing its 2nd straight bowl game, which hadn't happened in a long, long time. So you need a lot more things to build on. But when you are this low, and this is really the lowest Wisconsin has been in decades, you got to start somewhere.
We got to start somewhere, indeed. And when people say, well, just keep it close or just keep it competitive, and this is something that, comes up on Bill's show and that we've discussed as well. The reason why that doesn't do much for me is I've seen it. In Luke Fickell's first year, they played Ohio State 24-10. And it's like, oh, that's best case scenario. And then they lost the next 2 games. And then last year, Penn State, Oregon, they played them both close. And then they got housed by Iowa and then Nebraska. So talk about the idea of turning in a competitive performance that's a loss and then actually needing to turn it into something, because that's kind of what they've been unable to do these last 2 years.
Well, against quality competition, that is the bar, and it is extremely low. It's as low as it's ever been since I've covered the team in 15 seasons. Is realistically, Wisconsin has no shot to win pretty much any of these games against ranked teams, and obviously they have not beaten a single ranked team or had any consequential victory in the Luke Fickell era. But where they're at right now, with the offense struggling the way that it is, it's like as soon as Oregon scored probably at the end of the first half, but when they got the second touchdown, it was 14-0. Realistically, you're just like, it's over when a team gets a 2-score lead, because Wisconsin's offense just does not have enough. And, it's interesting because it feels like Wisconsin has gotten worse in each of the 3 seasons under Luke Fickell, certainly by record. But the being competitive, Wisconsin, again, has been so poor that I think I don't want to say that's all fans want to see, because they want to see a whole heck of a lot more, but that's at the minimum what you need to see. And if we spin this ahead to November, which is not going to be very easy given the competition and the way that some of those teams have played, and more specifically how Wisconsin has played, that's the bar, is be competitive, and maybe Wisconsin can win a game.
Jesse Temple is here. Subscribe, Badger Connect, and watch this latest episode of the camp. I would recommend, because they are in costume. It's a delight. This offense is stunk. They're really, really, really bad. And yet, I don't hear a lot of people talking about Jeff Grimes. Now, maybe you're hearing different things, but when the offense was bad with Phil Longo, we wanted that guy out of town on a rail car. I just don't even hear people talking about Jeff Grimes. So when you're listing or thinking about the reasons why this offense is stunk, where does Jeff Grimes fall? How close to the top?
It's interesting, because I was just talking to Zach about this on the camp, that I don't know that you could say, oh, if they got a different play caller in here, things would be different. It's hard for me to really pin this on Grimes. And earlier in the season, it was, well, when do you know to throw a trick play out there? And when do you know to just keep going with the things that have worked? But nothing has worked. But let's be honest, the quarterback play is where it all begins. The offensive line play hasn't necessarily been great, but the quarterback play is as bad as I have ever seen here, statistically, certainly. And you're hampered when you can't move the ball. Certainly, you're not able to run the ball. Like, Jeff Grimes cannot go out there and open the holes. And yeah, you can try and scheme some things up, but they're not as talented as most of these teams. And the execution isn't great. So that certainly has got to fall, at least to some degree, on the offensive coordinator. But it's different situations that you're walking into here too. The expectations were as high as they've ever been at Wisconsin. when they brought in Phil Longo because of what he'd been able to do at some of these other places, because of the excitement and novelty. It was unique for Wisconsin. And when it didn't materialize, it was an easy person to blame. And maybe we're learning now there were far more issues, but Hunter Simmons hasn't thrown for more than like 86 yards in the last 3 starts. And he was 1 for 13 for 12 yards, I think, until a late drive. So you'd have no chance when your quarterback play is that bad.
You're right about those early season storylines when we're talking about, knowing when to throw a trick play out there. That feels like it's ancient history. And I guess the point that you were making or that I took away from that answer is the offense has been so bad. Like, we don't even get to talk about play calling. Like, it's not a concern. Like, I wish they would have mixed in a run or they're so bad at most things. Like, the play calling almost feels secondary, which is not exactly fun. I like talking about play calling. That's a fun thing to talk about and to write about and to discuss and to debate.
It's like Luke Fickell talks after every game, oh, we need to take some deep shots or take some shots down the field. And it's like, well, you haven't yet, probably because you can't.
Yeah.
So it's nice to say, but they just have no real ability to do anything of consequence, which is why they went 14 quarters without scoring a touchdown. I mean, their scoring offense this season is 12.5 points a game. It's just on pace to be the worst since Barry Alvarez got here. And that's really what we're talking about when you want to go back in time. Sometimes it feels like, as we watch, I'm watching a football team from the late 80s or something like that. But it hasn't been this poor since then, really.
Your impressions of Oregon, I was not impressed. And I guess the Badgers get a little bit of credit for that. But I walked away from that game thinking, I don't know if Oregon feels like the 6th best team in the country and one of the top offenses in the country. I wasn't impressed.
It's hard to know how much the weather played a role in this.
100%.
It was a substantial downpour, and for an Oregon team that can be pretty explosive and wants to get the ball out in the air to its playmakers, that makes it more challenging. But even having said that, it's not like they were doing a ton. And Dante Moore got hurt. You want to talk about Mason Posa making an impact, just sticks his arm in there and Dante's bleeding, and Oregon can just bring in another top-level quarterback and they'll be fine. I also do want to give some credit, though, to Wisconsin's defense. For as much as we are talking about how bad the offense is, again, the defense deserves so much credit, especially knowing the situation that they're in. Essentially, if you give up a touchdown, you feel like the game is over. And I'm not saying that the guys on the field are thinking that, but you have to realistically know it. And it took until the end of the first half for Oregon to score. And yeah, Oregon ended up with 200 plus yards rushing. Wisconsin's defense kind of wore down and Oregon found some things. But Oregon came into that game averaging 44 plus points a game and ended with 21. So it's a accumulation of things, but it was not Oregon's most impressive performance.
I'm interested to see how the rest of their season looks. I don't want to dump on them and say they stink, because that's taking away credit that is certainly deserved by the Wisconsin defense, to your point. One more football thing, and then I want to talk a little basketball before I let you go. Jim Polzine had a conversation with Ted Kellner, who's one of the Badgers' biggest donors, and he does not seem to be out for anyone's head or out for anyone's neck, whether it be McIntosh or Fickell. What did you make of that? And maybe there's someone like me, I'm not immersed in the politics and the the money exchanging in college football. Explain what we need to know about this story and about what Ted Kellner is saying and thinking.
I think if Chris McIntosh is going to put out a letter to fans that talks about what the vision is, and yes, it is still vague to a degree, but talking about the need for more investment in the program, you don't put that out without having conversations with the boosters who support you the most financially. So to me, this comes down to alignment, necessary alignment, because the alternative is, if you're the big money booster and you say you want to blow it up, you're burning all the bridges, it feels like. So it's not like, I suppose, Ted Kellner hasn't been involved to some degree in what the future may look like. But you've seen at other places, people are willing to spend a lot of money to completely change course. But it does feel at this point like Wisconsin is ready to run it back.
Well, and maybe just something to consider, if Wisconsin wants to go out and get a great coach, and I talked about this with Zach on my show last night, are there going to be enough elite coaches to take all these great jobs? LSU is open. I believe Florida's open. Correct me if I'm wrong, or probably will be open. Penn State is open. Like, how many elite coaches are going to come available? And maybe Wisconsin doesn't think they can get one of those guys, but that's at least a factor that you have to consider, right?
Zach brought that up on the show a couple of weeks ago. And one thought I had was, you can't not make a decision because of everything else that's happening at other schools, because you have no idea what this is going to look like a year from now. I wouldn't have known a month ago, and I don't think anybody else would have, that the Penn State job was going to be open. James Franklin went to the playoff a year ago, and before they played Oregon, they were a top 3 team, and even that game was an overtime loss. And then all of a sudden that job is open, and of course there's a domino effect with all these other places. So I don't think you can make a decision based on openings at other schools. You have to focus on what's going on at your place. But obviously Wisconsin feels like this is the path forward. And ultimately, I wonder, what is the bar for success, assuming we get to year 4 under Luke Fickell? What do you need to see internally as an athletic department, as an athletic director, to feel like things are moving in the right direction?
Keep it competitive, the vision, the same things that we're talking about right now. Hopefully not. Hopefully that's not the case. At Badger Connect this week, you have some women's basketball coverage, and I know the exhibition with Oklahoma last week, they have the Guarding for Cancer game hosting his brother from Platteville, which is always, it's one of my favorite sporting events of the year when they host a WIAC school. So talk about anything that you're covering and that we should go find related to Badgers basketball right now.
I do have a men's basketball story that ran earlier this week. It was an inside look at Wisconsin's approach to international recruiting. It's changed drastically in the last 5 years. They right now have 4 international players. One of them is Austin Rapp, who went to Portland a year ago, but he's originally from Australia. And the other 3 were true internationally recruited prospects, a couple of which signed or even talked to Wisconsin simply because Wisconsin developed relationships with agents, because those players had never heard of Wisconsin. And it was like, hey, you have a Zoom with Wisconsin tomorrow. And they're like, what's Wisconsin, basically, which speaks to the changing nature of college basketball and the opportunity for NIL. Because before this happened 5 years ago, international guys would just stay with their semi-pro teams where they could get paid. But now you can come to the United States and make some good money and get to compete at a very high level. So that's one story up. And I do have a Badger Bites video running next week with Austin Rapp, who is a very interesting guy. And I think someone that Badgers fans are really going to enjoy following here in the coming seasons.
Did you hit him with your Australian accent, or did you just...
I did not hit him with my Australian accent. I did, however, ask him about him growing up playing Australian rules football. So I learned a little bit about his culture as well.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing that when it comes out, and we'll follow all your work at Badger Connect. Thank you, Jesse. Happy Halloween.
Thanks, Grant.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
That's one of those where you're like, no, 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 yes. I believe on that play. I was watching Rome, and he was getting tugged on, and I saw the flag. So I don't know if he saw it and just threw it up. I think he was more focused on the safety and saw how low the safety was. But that's I would say that's just the trust that he has in Christian Watson that he's going to go make that play for him.
It's a little bit more from Matt LaFleur. We'll get to that in its entirety, and we'll get Mike Clemens' dissemination of everything that Matt LaFleur and Packers players had to say earlier today. The Bill Michaels Huddle, just minutes away. Mike Clemens will join us at 6:30 at the bottom of this coming hour. So stay tuned on your local affiliate, or you know where to find Bill's shows, his live stream, and that Wisco Sports Zone app, pretty handy as well. Good home base for all of our shows. I've been a little bummed out this week. You know, I don't need every sports talker to say nice things about my team. Like I don't know, maybe I do. Maybe, I guess now that I say this out loud, maybe I do. When I tune into Cowherd, or I tune into my favorite shows, I'm like, please say something nice about my team. Please say something nice about my team. I don't need my favorite sports talkers to be nice to my team. But I have been a little disappointed this week. Like, I've been bummed out. I was listening to Felger and Maz yesterday, and they had Bedard on, and they were talking a little bit about the Sunday night game. And like Nick Wright has said this too. Like, yeah, Jordan Love was great the other night, but you know, two of his biggest completions, they were just complete and total prayers. Okay, well, I don't know, man. Like, that's one way to look at it. You could also look at that throw to Christian Watson as an unbelievable throw of ability to put that ball there, to get it over the safety in front of the corner, right into Watson's breadbasket. And I guess, like, if you want to look at that and say, well, it was a prayer, I guess you could. It bums me out a little bit. That throw to Kraft was a little bit more of a prayer, but the defensive back has his back turned. He threw it to the inside, and everyone's like, well, Kraft got away with an OPI. Man, go watch that play again. He didn't really shove him. It's just the momentum of the defender is carrying him so hard to the right. When Kraft stops to catch a pop fly, the dude runs by. Now, maybe he used his hand to sturdy himself or to position himself, but he didn't sling him out of the way. Like, the defender was already headed that way. So I do have to admit, I was a little bummed out this week with some of the reaction, and the praise for Jordan Love has been overwhelming in the Packers as well. We're not going hungry here. But I do think Christian Watson needs to continue to play at this level of Jordan Love, without turning the ball over. And he can't have a playoff game this year where he throws 3 or 4 picks, because that's the perception of him. And even in his best games, people look at it and go, a little lucky. Some of those balls, a little risky. I don't know. Quarterbacks throw it up sometimes. I thought we'll do this tomorrow. Talk to you tomorrow at 4.